Hey people, I want to look at these pygmies that the Majesty has desireth to see that come from the offerings of Bada and Punt. And I'm going to look at some other words here, but I want to start with this word they give old here. You know, they say that this is a UU, and this is a UR. And it's an impossible word to pronounce, you know, UUUR. And so I told you in that last movie that they're mistaken. This is not an A, this is an L. And this word for the old really tells off. They spell it several different ways, and often it begins with the F, or the F will be the final letter in the last word. But this is the L. And if you're reading across here, you're getting here, and it's as of to, T-A, to-a-loo, L-U-U, to-a-loo. You know, the loo is the bathroom, to-a-loo. To-a-loo-a-roo, you know, backwards, U-R-U-U, arula. And it means getting old. And when you're getting old, you know, it's as of to-a-loo, the bathroom, arula. You know, old people spend a lot of time at the loo. We got to get up like 20 times a night and go piss. We just can't hold it. We rule the loo. And that's where your word to-a-loo, arula come from, right here. And for anybody questioning my reading backwards, all the ancients knew it. And it's where your word tink comes from. Tink means to undo a row of knitting one stitch at a time in order to correct a mistake. And so tink is just knit backwards, K-N-I-T, T-I-N-K. And here's another word for the old man. You see the old man still in here. And you see the last word ends with the F. And the reason it's not in this word because it reads backwards and forwards. And they didn't want it to end with the F, so they ended the last word with the F. But it's the F-A-L-T, you know, the fault. The fall to. The fall to where, and then A-S-U-R. Assure tell. The fault to wear assure tell. You know, people get old and we damn sure point out your faults, you know. We don't care so much about your feelings as we think we're being helpful by telling you what's wrong. And so the more I read this, the more I see that they had purposely mistranslated things, because I find words that they'll have them correct one time and then they'll change them somewhere else. And it seems like, you know, the guy that first broke these down from the cartouches, you know, he didn't have a clue. He was trying to figure it out. And as he moved along, it seemed like the Vatican had moved in to help him and mislead him. And you can see here, it's the same people who translated the King James Version, and they don't want us to know what fish used to mean. But, you know, away with this drunkard, you know, what it actually says is, au revoir, au revoir. Tallies leery among. Next letter may. You know, au revoir is just away with. This is AI here, and this is the AW. It's where they get this AU here, and this is where this away comes from. And they say this is a road, you know, away, but it's more like a scale to weigh. And that's what we say when the boat lifts the anchor up off the bottom when you're leaving. It's away, you know, when you're away from the house. Old redneck way of talking, you know. And so here, you know, this is the here up here, and this extra R gives it RI, so it's here, you know, airy away, or airy avoir, the way the French were saying it. But it's, you know, here re is again. And next time, you know, next time you're away. And when they holler au revoir, that's what that actually means, is here again, away. And this is tally, you know, this is the count. And tally's weary, you know, the W-R, the wear, and the R-I, the tally's weary. And so, you know, you're drunk and you're out at the bar, and you ask for your tab, and you don't like the number he's giving you, know, you're a tally's weary. You know, au revoir, tally's weary. And then this three ends turns into a moo. And that's where among. This is a ng, among. Among next, let 'em weigh, let 'em may, M-M-A-I. So this is also the AI. This is one they use in not. And so let 'em may means yes, you can. And A-I-N, ain means not. And A-I-K means ache. It means you probably shouldn't, it's going to hurt. And it surely has to do with the referee at the ancient ball game, the one who had to say if. It was say if, the safe. It has to do with judgment. It's more like, the weight is in to compare. When this way up here is more to lift. We say anchor away as soon as it breaks the bottom, as soon as the strain is on the boat instead of the earth. But it means, let 'em may. You're in the way. You're not drinking. You're too drunk to drink anyway. Au revoir, tallies weary. Among next, let 'em may. Among the next in line. We got people waiting at the door. Among next. He's got his ticket in his hand. That's a next and a let. And to let 'em may. Give 'em space. And when you see this on blueprints, it's the top view of a toilet. The among, on the throne. And you'll see this duck here, they'll give it the T, the TH in a lot of titles. And so au revoir tallies weary among. You're among those that are worried about the tally. Don't trust the count. And next let 'em may, the next one in line, ready to take your place. But I'm going to pull this off from this tomb at Hieroglyphs at Aswan and put it on paint. And I'm going to add some letters to help read this. But this word they claiming for pygmy, this is an ancient word that old women use to talk about their grandchildren, the stinky stanks. They're forgetting this S in here. You see, the next time it comes up, it's missing the S and it reads different. And so it's talk about all the qualities of your grandchildren. That's why they got little bald heads. And so most all this is taken off the wall, in kings or in scribes' graves was only ones rich enough to have these spells. And most of us, what they want to be known for. And so most of it, it's kings conquering pussy. But this one he's talking about, to love his grandchildren. Amore, that was love. All across the med, amore. A merry and happy, bring it on. The hand, they must be getting this from Latin or backwards. But this is a what? And it means the handle. It's the handle of your paintbrush, all your pots and pans, It's the handle of every tool. It's what's going in your hand. And that's where they're getting this hand from. But it's not. It's the what. It's not the... It's a handle. It's the name of that tool. And so it's a what is what it is. It's an ancient pronoun meaning who or that. The one what got to my house. And to love what's oral. What's oral? What's talking letting? What's talking letting? Stinks. Can't peer. Can't peer unletting. And you see the potty is up on big tall legs, on letting, and he can't reach the potty. And on letting, N-S-H-N, and this N may not have been here. I don't know what these parentheses mean, but the B here also means N, and would still be read as nishin. And the love what's oral letting, stinks, can't peer and letting, and you see this word knelt in here. The legs are LT and the dish is an N. Knelt. And they got it on the big tall legs to let you know it's knelt down because the baby's not tall enough. Knelt and nishin. And I think this parentheses means they added this N to make it read, but it doesn't matter. This N is here. This B reads as an N. And so it's not bad, but it's, in comes stalker. They get this T from this letter here. They give it this T, but And they're saying it goes with a group of letters that read as a T, meaning the earth. But they all look different. But this is a stall. This is the ancient letter for B. Everywhere else meant the house. And it's the floor plan, of your house. And when you get tired of sleeping with your horse, this is a stall. You add one more stall. Or if you use the Egyptian letter for the house, the purr, you didn't have to sleep with your horse. He had the other side of the barn. When you wanted a second animal, then you could add a stall. But it still means the same thing. It's an income stalker. This a cur, valley of a cur, the stalker, and the fun attacker. The fun attacker. Well, no such thing as the punts, the land of punts. That was your grandchildren attacking your legs. Or it might even be talking about his cat here, the purr, the furniture. That's where furniture got its name. First time a man built a chair, the cat jumped up in it. The fern, Latin, and notion, NSH, the notion or the notion, comes stalking, fun attacker, and our spiry, and our spirit cracksin', our spirit cracksin'. So this cracksin', this is a zen. The zen is your body when your head's not attached to it. You're in zen. And scent, that's that place that your head's at. This is the goat head. And our spirit cracks and never blank and kidding, KDNG. And never blank kidding. And they say these are names of gods that had to be erased. Tinkas, TNK, Tinkas, Tonkas, and AS, Tinkas, Tonkin, Tinkas, Tonk, can't poo. And when I first read that, it made me think of Tonka. And Tonka is a toy company that makes 1/64th scale, mostly trucks. But they'll tell you that this word Tonka comes from great or big, from a Dakota Sioux language, meaning great or big. But when I was in the Navy, I played a game called Tonk with a guy from Chicago, and the idea was to have the smallest hand. You wanted aces and twos in your hand. Little. Tonk is little. And so all the world's biggest corporations, they're all in on this. They know that the ancient Egyptians spoke English, wrote English. That's where we come from. And so there's a chance that this A does read as an M like this, and it's small, ZMLL, and Amore, what's small. And that's kind of what brought him here, as I've been researching these I's to see the different letter combinations that they give them and find out why. But it's also, Amore, what's surreal, surreal, having the qualities of bizarre. And they say this is an English word. That means it's Hebrew and Egyptian. They say it's an English word that we just invented in the 1930s. So it might read, the small thing, TNG, THNG, the small thing stinks. Stink is stinks. And a canned is when, KND. The stinky stink canned, KND. The canned pooer, the can, going to the can pooer. And so the pooer, that's ancient word for the boy there, that has since turned into stink. You can see it here in this old Amos Pictus, the master and the boy, the magister and the pooer. But that's what it looks like, that's the word for the boy, the power. It's the baby that takes your power. The baby becomes the god, gets everything they say. And it got flipped in the French, to the stinker, the little pygmies, the stinkers. And that's what it is, because it's flipping it around every which way, it's letting stinkers, and tinkers. And so it looks like the ancient word for this boy, it's in the Latin, the poor nelter, This from the offerings. And letting stinks, can't, canty, the can't poor Nelton shin, the Neltician, or the Neltonician comes stalker, like a pediatrician, you got to get down on your knees to hear what they're saying, and come stalker. They come run up jerking on the bottom of your pants, asking questions. And so in their tank here, they're not reading these three letters. They're calling these a determinative, and they're getting this tank from this TNK. And sometimes other words, you'll see them read them both on smaller words. But they never read this, because they don't want you to know it means as, this type. And so more of what's surreal, a bunch of hollering kids, surreal letting stinks. Can't pier inlet, can't make the toilet, the inlet. Inlet and shin comes stalker. And fun attacker, attacking for the fun of it. Our spirit cracks in, make us laugh. And they didn't want us to know what this was here. And so they say they run out the old rulers, and scratch out their name or their god's name. And so I'm thinking that's what goes in there is Anki, I-M, A-N-C-I, ants, where your word France come from in the Frankenstein, Franks. And after reading Egyptian, it gives a better idea of how to read this here. You see the space they left in here to help you here. But this is on the top of the Ten Commandments. And it tells the house out of what house it came from. From in it abidum. From crime, from in it abidum. And so it changes this, thy country and thy place to France. P-R-A-N-C-I. The Francie, or the Pranky kiddin' gotten, the cost, the K-A-S, the costs, and then back the other way, ting, and the costing can't. And as I read this some more, I can see the more genius in here, and marry what, and this might even read as the sword pointing to the smell part of the eye, and it might read smell or smile. And the smiled in the Kistin, the K-S, and then the T-N, the Kistin, and then the Costin, the K-A-S-T-E-N, the Kistin Costin, the Kistin Costin consent, to give them the consent. It'll cost you a kiss, the grandchildren. And the poor, the boy, Neltonishin, and ishing out the kneel down, the Neltonishin, and comes stalk upon attacker, and our spirit cracks and prank a kiddin', tonkas tink, to tink, to take apart the tonka, the little take apart, can't poo. And so I'm going to look some more in this and read down it. But I found a whole bunch of these symbols that's going to break loose what these Ten Commandments mean, where the origin come from, the ancient meaning of this sign, and how to understand the dabberum, the words on the Ten Commandments. And why these pair of lions always holding up the rules of Anki, all this ancient art. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.